Hello. I've just read a case in the Times newspaper, and this is corroborated by other national publications. Um, I won't read out the whole report, but I'll read out the important parts, the emphasis of it. And the report's by Richard Asherton. Woman tries to save a life and gets a parking fine. Um, so this case, not sure the exact date, but I'll read out the first few paragraphs. A mother who tried to revive a dying man in a car park was fined £100 for overstaying by 14 minutes. 14 minutes. Gemma Hutt, 38, went to help the man when he collapsed near CCTV cameras in a car park in Newbury, in Berkshire. She received a £100 penalty charge from Euro Car Parks. She appealed against the fine, offering proof of what had happened, but the company has told her to pay or face court. Miss Hutt said the gentleman collapsed near to the cameras, so they must have been able to see. I was told that the gentleman had passed away, and I was very upset over this. I would have thought, considering the circumstances, that they would have waived the fine. £100 is a lot of money to me, especially at this time of year. I'll just read out the whole report, it's not too long. I have two young children that expect a lot from Father Christmas. This has caused a lot of stress to me. I'm now on antidepressant tablets as a result, and I won't use that car park because I get very upset and have flashbacks. I mean, this is a lady that saw a man. I don't know if he died at the scene, but certainly knowing that he died, that would be traumatizing. Ms. Hood has written to Laura Farris, MP for Newbury, to ask for her help. And I've looked at that MP's page, and a lot of people are raising the issue. And she has said that she's going to push this. Your car parks has sent Miss Hutt a letter that states, after carefully considering the evidence provided by you, we have decided to reject your appeal. Um, the reason given was that she was overstayed by 14 minutes. In fact, it was never in dispute. The company warned her the amount is now due and the charge will be held for 14 days to allow time to make the payment. Hero Car Park stands to criticism on social media. One user said, so these dreadful people consider it appropriate to leave a man to die to avoid overstaying in the car park. Total lack of empathy. This lady is a hero. She tried to save a life and this is her reward. Disgusting. Frankly, I think that's underplaying it. Another said, you were 100% right in what you did, Gemma. Trying to save a life. No greater reason needed. One user wrote, think we should all chip in to pay the fine for her. Don't know her personally, but it is disgusting from Euro car parks. Another added, oh my god, I would not pay the fine as that's awful and clear that you could see what's happening on the cameras. Another added, this is absolutely disgusting. How can you be so awful? What an amazing thing to do. You're amazing trying so hard. Right, there's a few things about this case. Firstly, we always hear in situations like this, okay, let's hear the other side. Maybe there's more to it. That's always the caveat. But if there is more to it, and let's say there was some exchange between Gemma Hutt and the company that we don't know about, or whatever it might be, they have opportunities to, uh, you know, clarify this, to give themselves some positive PR, even by showing some human empathy and expressing condolences, for example, to the deceased man's family. They've utterly failed to do that. So I'm going to say I think that Euro car parks comes across like a bunch of thugs. I mean, really, is there much difference between this and gangsters? Threatening people for pay rackets and so on. The only difference is, threat of violence. But it's the stress that they've caused her and the thuggish threats are reprehensible. Firstly, £100 is excessive in any circumstances. And for just 14 minutes, I would have thought, I don't drive myself, but I would have thought £100 is more like if you're overstaying by a few hours, not 14 minutes. Um, so she agreed. This is a private company. I believe she agreed. But this is the bit that is really troubling. They're not accountable. I emailed them basically to candidly express what I think of them, and I was careful about it. I didn't. put any insults in the little description box because I want them to read it. Of course, it went to an automated message. I tried phoning them, automated messages. In fact, the customer service or whatever it is that they have a direct contact is closed, ostensibly because of the pandemic. But um, that's the situation we have here. We have these private companies, and this isn't the first such example. There's other examples of these people abusing their power because they can. It's sheer greed, and it's cruel. To impose this on this woman leading up to Christmas. For some people, £100 isn't much, but for other people, it is. It's a hefty chunk of money. But that isn't even the point. The point is the lack of human empathy, the lack of accountability. And I really, really think the government needs to step in here and create some sort of legislation that will hold these bastards to account. It's disgusting. Um, they're nothing but faceless, greedy thugs. Thugs because they're threatening someone in these sort of circumstances without having any sort of empathy, without having empathy for the deceased man, without having empathy for the stress that they've caused this lady. Nothing. All it is pure greed. I mean, the normal thing to do, or rather the human thing to do, would be to waive the fine because of these circumstances. Because she hasn't denied that she overstayed. She's not disputing that. She's been honest about that. But this callous way in which they've responded to her is disgusting. So I do hope her MP really pushes this. And it's just another example of little people who have a little bit of power and they abuse it. Despicable. I mean, how do these people sleep at night? I really think that this is the sort of thing that comes down to public empowerment. And I don't drive myself, so it's not something that I would be impacted by. But I empathize. I sympathize with this woman, as does apparently everyone who's read the case. And like I say, if there's two sides to it, they haven't done a very good job of, clearing things up. Maybe, at least offering some condolences to the deceased man. They couldn't even do that. It's like they lack all humanity. It's like they're faceless, soulless robots. Just little people with a little bit of power. Um, People are saying they chip in to help out the fine. That's generous, but I actually think maybe a better approach would be civil disobedience. No one pays their fines and make these bastards hurt. I really believe that because they're thugs, and like all thugs and bullies, they will keep doing it until because they think they'll get away with it. That is thuggish behaviour. To threaten a woman in these circumstances, um, threaten anyone in these circumstances. Just to me, it's a blatant abuse of power, and it's reprehensible. Threatening her with court like she's a common criminal. They're the criminals as far as I'm concerned. Um, I will say this though, thank God for a free press. I don't always like the direction of the Daily Mail, but the Daily Mail and other newspapers have covered this. Without them covering it, they really would be getting away with it. But I honestly think this is the sort of case where there should be a kind of public backlash. Say no one pays their fine for a month or something like that, and make them suffer financially. They're a private company, make them suffer. I'm not quite sure how the mechanisms of it work, but they need to feel it backlash peacefully, peacefully but forcefully. It's disgusting. And they're cards because they never face the public. They would never directly respond. Like I say, I tried sending an email. It was just an automated response. So they want to issue these sort of threats, but they won't have any direct response. Now, I'm not directly involved in the case, but that means that the lady involved, the only way she can have any communication is by paying the fine or responding to their bureaucracy. So I can imagine the stress it's caused her. Hell, it's infuriated me, and I'm not, you know, If I was a millionaire, I'd pay her fine. It enrages me, that sort of abuse of power, and it's these despicable companies that think they can do what they want because they can. So I don't think it's socialist to say in these sort of situations, surely there should be some scope for the government holding these people to account. Because really, fundamentally, is there any difference between a case like this and, gangsters, loan sharks, and so on threatening vulnerable people or threatening anyone? I really don't see much moral difference. The only difference is there's no threat of violence, but it's emotional violence, the stress that they've caused her. Um, I imagine it's also upsetting for the deceased man's family, the absolute callous disregard for him. I mean, this lady should be applauded. She was doing a decent human thing, trying to save another person, and that's what happens. So I really, it's generous that people want to offer to pay the fine, but I think a better approach would be civil disobedience. I really do. And it's absolutely, I don't see the point in mincing my words. I think they are thugs. I think they're cowards as well because they don't want to face public scrutiny. And quite honestly, this sort of thing enrages me. And it needs to end. There needs to be a way that these private companies, it seemed to be particularly with the whole domain of parking fines. It's just, like I say, it's little people with a little bit of power. I mean, makes you wonder what sort of people they are, if they've got any human conscience whatsoever. Loathsome.